Hello to my channel. My name is Sasha. I've been living in Hat Rang for a little over a month, and today I would like to share my cool experience about which moped I finally chose to buy for myself and why, and how difficult it is for a beginner to navigate this chaotic Asian traffic. Do you even need a driver's license? Actually, I started preparing in advance. In the summer, I went to get my A category. I've always had the B category. Great job! But I never had the category, and it was my first experience. I've decided to go and take the test, despite many saying, oh, here in Vietnam, it's just tourists. They don't ask and hardly stop anyone, but I decided firstly I need it for my own skill because I've never ridden a motorcycle, and secondly, for peace of mind, why constantly carry the amount for the fine? And here in Vietnam they say this
something around
1.5 million houses. Well, that is around 3,000, 4.5 rubles. Well, they say some people manage to get caught cheaper, basically luck of the draw, and I decided it's calmer this way, and that's why I passed the driving school exam in Russia in advance. By the way, I was in Siberia.
Doesn't matter.
I have 2 hours here at both the first and second lessons. It seemed to me that it's almost impossible. First of all, the motorcycle. I learned on a full-fledged motorcycle mechanic, and it seemed to me that it's difficult despite the fact that I love transportation and I really love to drive and I drive well, but here it is absolutely different. Well, it seemed to me that's unreal to pass all the elements in such a short term, but in the end it all turned out fine. I completed all without mistakes in the exam and passed the category A. In general, I went around Vietnam with a calm soul, knowing that I have a license. Bye. I ended up here. I saw all these roads and realized that it's just crazy how they all drive like that, and that it's simply impossible just like that into each other. And for the first few days I just walked around, and I think but it's true, I was just sabotaging the process to get a trainer who will show me, with whom I will get used to this movement. So I sabotaged this process, I think, for about 1.5 weeks to 2, that's for sure. Explaining this by the fact that I am very busy stage by stage, searching for an apartment, and I don't have time for this right now. In the end, I made it. There are enough instructors here, by the way, and it's usually the same people who rent out the bikes. Here you can turn to them and they'll teach you, give you tips, what and how. But by the way, if there's even the slightest chance, then of course it's better to get category A license to be as calm as me. And naturally for my skill, because I was very grateful to myself that I learned on a full-fledged heavy mechanical motorcycle in Russia, because these electric mopeds and scooters are just heaven after a heavy motor, which fell under me if I failed at the first attempts when I was still not skilled. If I braked, I would stop and lose my balance a bit, and it would fall under me a couple of times. In the early lessons, that's why all these mopeds and scooters, they are like a light bike after a heavy one is heaven. I'm telling you, as a beginner who doesn't yet have experience, just like I didn't. Well, because with electric and scooters you can easily tilt it and you can easily hold the motorcycle.
I forgot, but
heavy,
only now.
which I was learning on, that I couldn't hold it at all. So if there will be such experience in advance, then of course it will be easier here. So I strongly recommend to get the license and this first basic skill on the motordrome. Despite what many say, that's all. Most people ride for free. Yes, that's true. Indeed, most are without rights, but also occasionally, from time to time in chats, it flashes that here they stopped and I had to pass the test. I drive by past caves in the promenade, so I see tourists from time to time. I personally haven't noticed anything drastic towards any Russians. Or they swim, but nevertheless they stand, and better of course to have a license. About how I studied. We took an instructor and first he offered me to ride on electric. This is such a light mini stool, I would say. It's not noisy, it's calm with me. I tried it on the playground. I had only 2 lessons I took to adapt to this movement. And then when I drove into the city for the first time, or rather when I sat with the instructor for the first time, he was behind me and I was in front. It was just these first sensations, they were the scariest because it's an unfamiliar atmosphere, an unfamiliar flow. Everyone like this. They rush at each other in heavy traffic. In general, the first minutes were the scariest. Then I was at the site, got used to it. I went to the electric moped. One has already gone out into the city and so on. The first 20 minutes when I drove into the city by myself, it was the scariest part when I made the first few rounds in this motion. Well, and then for 2 to 3 days I was getting used to these hours, this practice. And for the first 2 to 3 days I drove an electric car. I understood that. I want to try, how to drive a gasoline car and so on. Because when I was driving the electric car, we were looking for a place to charge it because we were advised, buy an electric car rather than a gasoline one. Because it seems like there's less consumption and no need to fill up with gas. Just charge in the outlet and change the battery once a year. And while we were driving, we were looking, how many sockets are there in total? Where are they? For instance, we lived in Irkutsk, and when we came to Irkutsk, in the evening, parking in Birgo, the whole parking lot was delivered by mopeds. And there was one outlet at the place where all the mobiles are. The socket spot was always kind of busy. Then when we already arrived at the panorama, we look and the outlets are not on the parking spaces where motorcycles are, but somehow on the side. Right on the way, I mean where the traffic is. And I realized that for me personally, the downsides are basically I'm not attached to I don't need a license for an electric. So in principle, I am not tied to the fact that I necessarily need such a unit so that I can drive without rides. That is, this question has been dealt with. The second point, I realized that I don't want to constantly look for these sockets. This, by the way, is convenient for those who live in houses. And they always have a power outlet and so on, and who understands that he's not going to go too far. But I understood that most likely. I'll gather to go somewhere far away then.
I'm drawing from experience.
So I realized that I don't want to constantly count how much I have left. And will it be enough for me to get there? Oh, I've moved away.
Go back
and
20
it's about time.
kilometers.
I can drive 25 kilometers basically. At this stage, the option of an electro-walk, I think, has been cut off for us, so to speak. And I slowly started. I decided to try on gasoline and started riding a Simex L2 right away. Of course, he was several times bigger than the electro stool.
By the way, there was
have,
such a thing as it turned out
the
erroneous.
opinion that it seems like for a girl it's safer to go for a smaller moped and all that, but when I switched from an electric stool, moved it to Cymax L2. At first it was unfamiliar, but after a while I understood, which is quite comfortable for me. And then when I tried to switch from Cymax L2 to Attila, and Attila is smaller, that is, it is a bit more than that electric stool I was riding on, but it's smaller than 7XL2. 7XL2 is a full-fledged mobile two-seater, and Attila turned out right after XL. Such a stool is very uncomfortable. And in general, this is my opinion, that we need to take smaller girls, but it kind of dissolved, because while exactly on the sensations on 7XL2 I felt much better, more calm, reliable and confident than on Untitled. Well, after all, I didn't like it on Untitled in the end. On her here, then it will also be okay. I'm not in a hurry, it's not that bad, it's not something terrible. Just in comparison, what I'm saying is that everyone needs to look and choose yours. And while we were learning to ride, we stopped by the Vietnamese market a few times where mopeds are sold. Then you go, look around, and different thoughts creep in. Why are they all so pretty, polished, washed, standing? Here you think maybe they're there. Broken, collected, unclear from what, and they are simply gathered into a candy, or maybe they are even stolen there half with fake documents. Well, generally you'll never find out, but it seems Vietnamese people don't care. They do most of it after all. Moped out of something they assemble from something, and they sell it afterwards, and apparently they're okay with less profit than the Russians. Why do I say that? Because there's a funny atmosphere here with the Russians doing business when they buy a banged up moped, apparently somewhere from a Vietnamese, or maybe further there, or maybe in Kashmiri. And I'm pedaling to save me. For the Russians who have just arrived and still don't know anything, where to buy and so on.
Here you go.
That was fun.
Come on.
As we searched, as I skimmed through
Chatterboxes, Pleasant, steamboats where they lay out mopeds, such are sold, and there are a lot of such announcements there. The price is so and so. We briskly take off from the parking lot. Documents are okay, condition.
Unbelievable.
A bunch of such funny ads. We thought from them and the same people very often in general that we might buy me a gasoline one. We have seen various options in the market, electric and gasoline, and many Vietnamese also charge a lot. So we wondered what model could meet my criteria of a large trunk to fit a helmet. By the way, in the end I don't put the helmet there because for now I didn't buy anything new. I rented it, bought it for the duration of my studies. In general, a large trunk to fit fruits, some sort of doors if you go somewhere, and a place for a helmet to have one. Also, the criterion was the fuel hatch, so it's not under the seat as it often happens. Here. Oh. Down below or right near the steering wheel there can also be barrels. And the criterion was in good technical condition or a beaten state, but to make it clear that a major overhaul is needed here. We were also agreed on this option. In principle, when we looked at what's on the market. And of course, I wanted something prettier. Prettier like girls, but something not battered, not worn out, so that it would be nice to ride. I love when
They're surrounding me. Such beautiful, attractive things. I don't like everything new. By the way, the option of a new sauna here quickly dropped out because they said it seems to buy a new bike, residency card is needed.
Philippe Kirkorov.
Because strongly, very much.
So what? The newer, the higher the chance it will be stolen. Well, just like our instructor and landlord Mike scared us badly. So we visited new showrooms, but this option is also empty, evaporated. In short, we were looking for something a bit fresher, in good condition or battered, but there should be an understanding needed.
We got stuck with the major repair.
A Honda Elite model, it meets my criteria. That very large trunk, petrol pneumosedation. And we looked at the Russians have three or four of these ices. In general, two of them we drove into the service station to check the technical condition. 1 liter was for 10, I think, in a film, for 10 million dong. Prices have gone up, by the way. We bought this in the last hours of November. On the 22nd of November, the master took a look and said that many things need to be replaced, that something else might be revealed in the process. Generally speaking, it might be fine, but not for 10 million, that is. Well, the price tag for March 8 separated us, and we looked at another elevator for 10.5 million. He looked terribly worn out, and he personally immediately he pushed back, but my guy said no, we're still taking it to the service. Even though I understood I don't want to do it based on intuition, because scruffy things scare off immediately. Even though I understand that this is Asia and all that, you know. In short, no, he said, we're still taking it to the service. And at the service, they said he's going to die soon. And so we didn't buy another lead. We looked at another view, but I already understood that I don't want to spend any more time in the service. In short, we went to the Vietnamese market again. This time we took a person who knows his stuff with us. Found, by the way, their lid for 7,700. Well, he was like that. I mean, it's clear that he was like that. A quick paint job or something. In general, we thought maybe it's... and we also assembled a fast hand inside. Then they brought us a well-polished red elevator. I've been carrying on alone for quite some time. I've probably been riding it for 3 weeks now. I'll show it to you later. And he...
That's great, just as I wanted.
Well, he can really dance. He looks just like new. Well, that means, according to the documents, by the way, if they're not fake, of course, it's written 2007. And everyone's looking here, by the way. Not for a year, not for mileage, but on condition here. On mileage, as I understood, no one will be able...
Now, this is because...
After a major engine he leads, it resets there, and I think they're all twisted up there anyway. So that's not the main thing here. This Elite cost 11 million dong, which is roughly... as per the course of those last November days, to my mind, if I remember correctly. 59,000 rubles, here you go. Well, we haggled down to 500,000, right?
In total, he gave it to us for 10.5 million, but for the same amount. It's a moped that doesn't require any investment. Basically, it can... I ride and I really like it. It's very comfortable, despite the fact that it's smaller than the CYMA XL2. It's comfortable in it, not like on a stool, but like in a hotel. Here, it's more like what my man said, that It reminds me more of slippers. Unexpected. In general, I drive, I really like it and I enjoy it. Indeed, it's pleasant to drive. It's nice to sit on it. And for beginners, I think it's just the right option. I mean, I would definitely recommend it. I like everything about my ride so far. The only thing is I'm going to show that the fuel tank hatch happens to be right next to the steering wheel at the same level as the keyhole. Here, and this is more convenient, but here it turns out the fuel tank is kind of at the bottom where the feet are, and we throw it into the gas station. Approaching, it's like I have to lean downwards on my blazing legs, just standing like that. It turned out to be not very convenient either, but this one is like a minor disadvantage, one might say, but I wouldn't call it a major flaw, just small details. His other virtues overshadow him. It's a big trunk, and by the way, if a woman has a big butt, for example, for beginners, I also recommend this model. Flip-flops are very loved, so if someone has a big butt, but it wasn't very relevant to me, but keep in mind that if anything, such a model will suit. So for beginners, this is the thing. That is, if there is no experience at all, these are my direct recommendation that first got on the Electro and went on familiar grounds where there are no people, just a bit on the road. Be careful. The main thing is to be careful. In general, it's okay. There's no such horror. When there were the first days when I was walking around looking at everything and thinking, oh God, how can one drive here? In general, it's fine. The movement is streamlined. Mostly everyone sees each other. They slow down. Overall, no one drives too fast. It's more like 50, 60 kilometers per hour over there. I noticed a few, of course, unicums, but these are units, yeah. And cars also drive slowly around the city. The main thing is to be attentive and maintain calm on the roads. That is the main thing, is confidence, attentiveness. This is personally what helped me. I was simply, although the first 10 minutes felt a bit unusual, everything shook a bit, but the main thing is to remain calm in order for everything to be fine here. And this is the main thing I recommend doing. Well, and of course got the rides. And I didn't finish about the resellers. If you have a chance, of course, check it out at the Vietnamese market, what they are selling, what is there, at what prices. What prices are they quoting you? Don't forget to haggle, because some seem to just pull prices out of thin air. And sometimes even in one, they say in the store,
One price for everything.
that's it, 45 million for everything here. And if possible, buy already with those who know. People who know more than you, if you're a newbie at this, well, Russian resellers too. Surely you can find something good, valuable, separate. So why not, if he offers a decent moped there, decent money? Well, the question is, of course, about its technical state. You need to understand that in the worst case scenario, it's a major repair which costs about $100. Here, as it should be.
We're told, really? Just like
Apparently top 99.
The patients are resellers and they post in web chats, and at the meeting they say, oh yes, I took it for a ride here, I drive for a month.
Now it's not suitable. And then in the chat, another story and another one and another one and another one. In general, it's fun to watch. In short, these are my basic recommendations. Get a category A license if there's even the slightest chance, so that someone could show you, teach you in a safe place, so that this minimal basic skill and confidence would appear. Yes, on the stove.
I've woven the glasses.
Do check out the Vietnamese markets if you have the chance, and if you do, choose wisely.
Of course, naturally, with a more or less local person.
Because the Vietnamese, they also see who just arrived and they call it high price. That's how it was for us. If you, like me, had no experience before, then I similarly recommend trying out an electric one first, then try a gasoline one if you choose gasoline. Well, by the way, if there are no rides, then electric is just perfect and you can move around the city calmly and move around peacefully without any problems.
There are mobile fighters there.
Although this mobility is chilling and already hardly anywhere you want to go on foot when you've hopped on a bike and got there. And keep your cool on the road, stay confident, calm. It all isn't as complicated as it may seem at first glance. I was glad to share my experience. If I forgot to say something, if I remember, I'll say. If there are any questions, do write in the comments. I'll help as much as I can. And do subscribe to the channel. Just to see each other again. By the way, I forgot to show the bike. Now I'm going to show you the rack, the moped itself. I didn't mention, did I, that it's red and without a sight. And I'll show you where this river of gas mask is. Here's such a red moped. Here the parking attendants drew again. Need to erase.
What a shining sun. And in such a condition, neat, pretty actually, like new. By the way,
There's a chance it might even be in its original color. It's all polished, new tires. Here's some kind of thing. In general, indeed, there is three. Everything is on top here, and there's such a large trunk. Bye.
but definitely.
Fact front.
That's it. It's time for us. Bye.
Finally.
To lower the chance of theft, in general, a lot of things can fit here. A 5 liter, a 6 liter calmly, and various other products, fruits, and so on.
Oh, scratch the dog here.
Always struggling with it a bit.
Just like that.
Well, like this. True stories right here. This is straight up, in my opinion.
A miracle.
Much more convenient than like this. Just caving in.
Well, that's it. Now it seems that everything was